You won't be able to, I mean, people come in and won't be able to find seats with 3 together or 4 together, and so it's 80%, you're at capacity. So you need to be thinking about a second service. But there's also another band. As a matter of fact, I've got it here. Let me do it. I'm off notes, Jim, sorry. I mean, you've got this, the room's got to be at 80% capacity, boom, you're full, because people aren't going to find it. But there's also something that people don't talk about. If the room isn't like 60% full, you're not going to grow either. If you're not at 60%, so you got a growth band, basically, that room's got to be managed for 60 to 80% people in seats. Because if it's 30, 40% of the room is full, people are going to walk in, they're going to go, ooh, nobody showed up, it's not working.
It's kind of a bad feeling. But if it's more than that, it's too crowded.
But right, so you got this, what I call a growth band of 60 to 80%. And as a church planner, manage the room. I mean, avoid the empty look, work on it. You get to do this from the ground up. And teach your leaders some of this. This is just leadership principles.
Now, you may not have chairs that are movable. Right. What do you do? Well, different things. I've seen people cover up the chairs. I've seen hang curtains, do cloths and things like that. But do something with some kind of friendly barrier to create a warm space.
Or find another place to meet.
Find another place to meet.
If you're starting out and you're starting out in a 1,000-seat auditorium, and I hear guys say this, we got a high school, it's state of the art. It's 1,000 seats. You're in trouble. It's too big. Yeah. I don't care if it's state of the art. It's going to be state of the art and empty. It's, find the right place and grow into it. I'm a huge advocate of moving. It's just me. We moved 15 times in 15 years. It's just that, every time you move, you have a, opportunity for new growth in a new place and manage another room. Number 4, keep driving. Name tags. Use name tags early on. We finally got.
Do you guys still do this?
We just stopped.
You did it for years and years and years.
We did it for 16 years. We just stopped because the concourse is such a big place you couldn't find the name tag table as people came in. It's just out there on the weekends. It's kind of like a sea of humanity, and so we just stopped. But name tags put everyone on even ground. Just you could have your own name tags. We had thousands of them printed up, just a roll of, it's just, Church of the Springs, and you put somebody, that's another touch. When people come in, you got a name tag table. And you stop them, and when they stop walking in, and you have all of your people wearing them, and then they stop, and they go, well, I guess everybody's getting a name tag, so you stop. When you're given the name, there's somebody talking to them, saying, man, we're so glad that you're here. Is this, you've been here before, so you're getting another touch.
Now, let me tell you what he's not talking about, just so you don't get it confused. He's not talking about a shiny visitor's badge.
Oh, man, yeah, go.
You know what I'm talking about? I don't know why our churches do this, man. We do it with a good intention, I think, but sometimes we put people on the spot. We ask them to stand up, tell about themselves. Guests do not want that. And you had uniform name tags. I mean, just had like the Springs printed on it, and then they had a place to, actually a volunteer would often write their name, right? Sometimes they would do it. Tell you what we do, it's easier to do this when you're small, but you guys did it even when you're pretty big. Every once in a while, we'll have a name tag day, and we'll get special volunteers for that weekend. They'll have clipboards with the name tags on. We'll put them out at all the different layers, just like our greeters, and we'll say, hey, listen, I'll usually say something about it in the service, maybe even the week before. Say, listen, it's going to be Name Amnesty Day. You've been sitting by these people for maybe too long now, and it'll be weird for you to say, excuse me, I know I should know you, but I don't know your name. We're going to have name tag next time. Anyway, we just put everybody's first name on there, and it's kind of like, Ron, good to see you. It's just kind of a fun way to do another touch.
It's brilliant in that when you talk to people, I mean, I'm an introvert by nature, so for me to walk up to somebody, if I don't know their name, I feel uncomfortable, especially if they've been at the church for a year or 2 years and I haven't met them yet. And you walk up to them, and it's great because when you see a name tag, hey, John, how you doing? And they go, oh, he knows my name. They forgot they have a name badge on.
Won't know it next week, but you know.
Yeah, that's right. But it's that whole cheers factor. Everybody wants to go someplace where someone knows your name.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah, it's just it's something, just put it out there and let it go. But also, some people ask about name tags. Do you make people wear name tags? No, you're not the name
tag Nazi.
Nazis, No, if they don't want it, just let them walk by. But after a while, they're going to start seeing everybody's got their name tag on. Maybe I ought to go get one of those. And it's okay. We're building a culture. We're building a culture. You get to build it from the ground up.
Here's number 5, man. This is a huge part of the weekend for us. It is such a valuable tool. Encourage everyone to fill out a Connect card. You call it different ways. We call ours a communication card. On the next page is a sample copy. I can't tell you, this is like the best invention since sliced bread. It's a little card that goes in your program, and it lets them fill out their name, where they're from. But I tell you, on the back is such great information. We have a place for prayer requests, and what we've done, I guess we've probably learned this from you guys, we have a place for next steps. What you want to do, in fact, it's kind of, I think, where Ron may have gotten the idea of the 2 minutes at the end of each session. The whole idea of this is application. Yeah. And the next steps on the back of your card, you don't want somebody just walking out of your service and saying, nice sermon, shaking hands or whatever. Or like me, sometimes it's like, I'm having to stand there, shake hands, saying, sorry about that, nothing personal, nothing personal. If it flops, you ever had those Sundays? But you want people to have life change, and to have life change through application. Yeah. I cannot believe the stuff people tell us on their communication cards. Sometimes people say, well, what's the difference between that and a registration pad? People are not going to tell me they're getting a divorce or they got alcohol problems and then pass it to the person next to them on the pew. Yeah. But they will write it on their communication card and drop it in the basket. And you got to get a system for your communication cards. In those early days, man, I went through them all Sunday afternoon, and I called every one of them. I called every person that came. I don't do that. I don't call them personally now, but we have a system that goes through, and actually Jennifer gets them first off, and we're trying to see if anybody is about to commit suicide. Because of my sermon, they're just having a hard time, they need an emergency call, and then it goes through a system. Now on page 36, you got your communication card there.
Yeah, that's right. We call it a Connect card today. We used to call it a communication card, but here's what, have everybody, this is critical, it's going to sound weird if you don't do this. Every weekend, have everybody fill one out. Everybody. Even people that have been there 10 years. I say it every weekend. If you've been here 10 years or today's your first time, grab one of these Connect cards. And the other thing is, we put pens on every seat. Between services, we load the chairs with pens, or if we've got a series coming up, we use those little invite cards, and everybody's got a pen, and everybody gets a Connect card. And we say, fill this out. And some of you going, oh, I'm not going to have everybody fill them out every week. Then you don't care about your church. Because it's not an information card to put in a database. It's a spiritual barometer of what's happening in the seats. It's the prayer requests. If you want to know what's happening in the hearts and lives of the people that are sitting in your church, read the prayer requests. You read the prayer requests of the Springs nowadays, it's pages and pages of people pouring their hearts out. You want to know what you need to teach, a series.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. We look at these, and sometimes, like I said, Jen gets these first, and she'll come back and say, man, we got to do a marriage series. We got to do a money series. We got to get, this is where our people are hurting. This is where they're bleeding right now.
That's it. And it is that spiritual barometer of the church. And not only that, that's where you have people take their next step. And some of you might, I don't know, some of you might do the whole come forward invitation thing, and we stopped doing that a long time ago. This is our invitation piece, the Connect card, where people mark the next steps, and you see. And
that's how we know. When I said 1,800 people have accepted Christ, I'm not guessing at that, but I'm talking about 1,800 people have filled out a card saying, I want to accept Christ today, and we've been able to follow up with that. You mentioned pens. Here, we do that too. Here's a little harvest pen. This is a great little tool that kind of emerged, not out of planning, just out of whatever. But we noticed we kept having to buy pens, people would take them off and say, oh man, I'm sorry, Jim, I got 20 pens at home. And so we thought, people are accidentally or not accidentally taking their pens. Let's use that. So every once in a while, it's got the church's name and a logo on it. We'll have a pen day. And I'll say, hey everybody, you're probably going out to lunch today. Here's what I want you to do. If you leave a good tip, leave a pen also. Again, like I think Hal said, if you're a crummy tipper, don't represent our church. But leave it at your table, or give it to your waiter or waitress, or give it to somebody this week and say, hey, man, here's where I go to church. You can go online and check out what a service looks like. I really want you to come. And we make it a little evangelism tool. When people have something to give away, they feel better about inviting their friends.
And you probably like me, at the Springs, you go to any restaurant at the Springs, and there's probably a 50% chance that you're going to sign your check with a pen from the Springs, because we have infiltrated this city over 16 years. It is a stealth marketing campaign. I remember signing a check once, and it was a Springs pen, and I went to take it, and the waitress said, hey, give me my pen. I said, is this yours? She said, yeah. I said, where'd you get it? She said, I don't know, but it's my pen. Give it to me. Give them away. Get them out there. I mean, it's just another way to push that out. We're going to keep driving here. I'm going to jump over choosing your leadership structure and get into creating the worship experience. The blanks will be on the jump drive for the sake of time on page 37. When you're creating a worship experience, the weekend worship experience, a worship service is a family expecting guests. That's I think I heard Andy Stanley use that phrase, and I love that phrase because that's exactly what it is. On the weekends, we are a family expecting guests. It's, you know what happens when you're at the house and you're saying, you know what, we're having guests over, and you tell your kids we're having guests over. Have you noticed that kids say the most inappropriate things when guests come over? You know, they say things and you gotta go, shh, don't say that. And the kid's going, why not? I say it every day. You know what? But today we have guests. Because you act differently when guests are present. And every weekend, we have hundreds of guests here. And so we create this worship experience with our guests in mind. Saying, you know what, when they're coming in, your theology doesn't change, your values don't change, but how you speak does change. And so, for us, we're just, and I guess those are the next blanks, being sensitive to guests. Guest-sensitive worship is about changing the presentation and the language. It's not about changing theology and values. Just like in your home, your values don't change because guests are there, but how you present yourself and your family does.
So why do that? That next bold is why create guest-friendly worship experiences? Why do this in the first place? I think in this preparation stage, you need to get your mind around your image of the church. There are a lot of images of the church in the New Testament, and what's yours? And sometimes there are some images that are not as healthy as others. Sometimes it can turn into this holy huddle, like at the shoe store you're talking about. They were having a huddle, and sometimes we as Christians kind of gather and we kind of think, this is a fort against all evil, so let us huddle up here until Jesus comes back. But that's not what Jesus said do. Sometimes we see it as a hospital for the saints. I tell you our image that we've adopted and I use in our class system where I'm teaching about membership. Here's what we say. Harvest Church, our church, is a battleship. We talk about it, we say, there are all kind of boats and ships. You got a shrimp boat, you got a ski boat, they're all built for different purposes. And there are cruise ships. How many of you have ever been on a cruise? I love cruises, buffets. I love how they make my towel into a swan and sitting on my pillow when I come back and there's a little mint. But here's the thing, guys. Sometimes churches fall into a cruise ship mentality. And it's kind of like, we got to keep people. We got to make people happy. We got to provide a program for this. We got to program for that. And we tell people right up front, we're not a cruise ship. We're a battleship on mission for Jesus Christ. And that's why we are doing this stuff. That's why we want to welcome guests. That seems common sense, but man, some churches kind of have a philosophy of, the right people will find us. Or if God calls them, surely they'll come. Well, God's calling you to go get them.
And it's interesting because churches have internal language. They've got they got their own way of doing things.